podcast is about is we started it and we both work in construction. So we started this as a construction safety podcast, talking about standards, OSHA standards, ANSI standards, things like that. And then try to kind of filter through the gray lines through OSHA and real world setups and scenarios, how people got hurt. We spoke about fatalities, not fatalities, but injuries, and then how the standard still may not have protected it, how you had to go on. So it just really, after we'd done that a few times, it really wasn't for us satisfying us or touching the guests like we really thought, or our listeners. So then we branched out and started doing interviews with people who in everyday life deal with something in safety. So it's not just construction safety now. It's like if you're a mom, stay-at-home mom, we've had a trapeze artist / comedian / concert person, because he talked about a bunch of rigging and he actually fell 40 feet from a trapeze trick because his rigging was bad. So we talked about that. So we're just getting into interviews and trying to get everybody to discuss just safety in everyday life. And you spoke at one of my wife's conferences for the that big H&R or HR.
Yeah.
What is that? SHRM? What is it?
SHRM.
SHRM. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she told me how fun you were, how engaging you were, and about your Netflix documentary. So I watched the Netflix documentary and saw that you're a boxer. So I was like, holy shit, this would be awesome, dude. We could squeeze the safety side in on how you prepare. And then one of the biggest things I wanted to ask was somewhere on your documentary, it mentioned that there was a corrupt boxing organization that started taking the headgear off of young Olympics coming in, and there was a big pushback and nobody liked it. So I thought, you know what, that'd be great safety segue right there. How do you protect yourself? What are some of the safety regulations boxers do and must attend? And maybe this once I could pass it or something like that. So
yeah, I'm of course no safety expert, but I can share my opinion.
Like Corey said, I mean, everyday life, there's hazards. And especially from your background, boxing and things like that, I mean, it's a great sport. I love boxing, but I mean, there's a lot of, older boxers that are feeling the effects of their earlier days. So, I mean, safety in boxing, it's like your cut man and what they do for you. And, you're a trainer now. And so what you tell your boxers, techniques on how to defend themselves and where to put their hands. And so, I mean, safety's everywhere.
Yeah, you're right. I don't train people though. But yeah, I never got into training people.
Weren't you the team captain for the U.S.?
Yeah. I was team captain. And that was because I guess I had the most complaints.
so speaking of that, I got to say this. I did see your. I hope you pick up on what I'm fixing to say here. I'm not saying we're the Taylor Swift of podcasts, but I'm not saying we're not either. So,
Corey's speaking for himself on that one, brother.
No, he did an interview after he lost a boxing match. He said, I'm not saying I'm the Taylor Swift of boxing, but I'm not saying I'm not either. So it was an amazing interview. Okay. It was super, super funny. But let me get to your intro and then we'll get into it. So,
okay, cool.
For our listeners, we have an electrifying episode lined up today, and it all starts with our exceptional guest. Not only did he dominate the boxing scene as a heavyweight champion, but the silver screen as well with his Netflix documentary. From his record-breaking accomplishments in the ring to his role as a powerhouse motivational speaker and a diversity coach, he is a true champion in both and out of the boxing ring, with a journey that is remarkable just as it is inspiring. With all that, he's still making his name in the record books, as he is the first guest on our podcast with a Wikipedia page. So welcome.
I'll take it. And I couldn't tell you what that wiki page says. I I do know it got my birthday wrong. Yeah, because people were texting me in like August 6th. So and it was the 16th, which
So
I
your
think
birthday is
birthdays are weird.
8/16.
Yeah, 8/16.
Well, happy
But
belated. That was
well,
just 2 weeks ago.
actually, I kind of have two birthdays. So
Yeah.
when I legally changed my name, I purposely did it on my half birthday. So
Half
Wow.
So like
February 16th, I changed my name.
okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So when someone calls me old, I'm like, oh no, I'm just 10 and a half because I just started over. Yeah.
You should have just started your birthday on leap year. Just changed it on leap year.
Yeah.
So for our listeners, we got Cam F. Awesome on as our guest today. This is going to be a very exciting episode. I can't wait to hear what he's done through his motivational speaks, how he engages with the kids, because he came from a bullying background, which kind of got him into boxing as well. I guess in a sense that taught you how to stand up for yourself, and now you're turning what you learned through the school of hard knocks back towards these kids and helping them deal with some of that stuff a little easier than what you dealt with. Is that kind of your path there?
Yeah. Yeah, that kind of sums me up. I like it.
I know I've been following you ever since you came here to Omaha, man. You're traveling all over the place. Do you ever where are we getting you from today?
I'm back home in Kansas City. I flew back in last night. So
Kansas City. Oh man, we're just 3 hours away. Are you a Kansas City Chief fan?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Hey, I'll be there in about a month.
Dave's
Really?
moving to KC.
Oh,
Now
welcome,
moving to KC.
man.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Which part? I guess we can discuss that another time.
Well, yeah, Cam. Here's my address for everybody to know. No, actually, it's Blue Springs.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with your boxing and Netflix, did you get to meet? How was that? First of all, how was was that kind of your first Hollywood experience? Having to go to set and get makeup and stuff like that, or
no, it was a documentary, but it wasn't makeup, it wasn't sets, it wasn't first class. It was just
you didn't have the wardrobe racks coming in.
It was just a bunch of dudes and one weird dude with a hat.
Yeah,
I call the shots.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you get to meet?
Directors always want to wear hats. I don't know what it is.
And they get that fancy chair. What's up with the chair? I mean, they don't make you direct better. I've seen some bad movies, and they had that chair.
And they had that chair.
Yeah.
So, did you get to meet Little B-Hop and Quinlan Kid Chocolate?
Yeah. I got to meet. So I knew B-Hop before the documentary, and I actually knew them both before the documentary.
Okay.
But it was cool to interact with them, and you kind of. Like my 20s was pretty cool because from like 18 to 30, I was doing this, and you just travel around the country randomly and you would run into these boxers. And when you're 22, it's like, oh, that's just the dude I hit up when I go to like Boca, or that's a dude I hit up when I go to Arizona. And now that I'm like in my 30s, I realize, oh, I was building connections with people all across the country throughout my 20s. So pretty much any city I go to, I have like a boxing connection of someone like I know, and basically have a couch to sleep on in every city.
Right on. So who would you say your most famous boxer is that you've got to meet?
Oh, it's weird because they're pairs, but I would say like Clarissa Shields. She's she's the female boxer. She's a big name in the women's.
Mm-hmm.
Errol Spence was my roommate for a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now how do two boxers roommate? Do y'all get mad over milk and just slug it out, or what?
Well, for one, I'm vegan. He can have the milk.
I get this band.
Yeah.
No. I basically choose a room. Like when we're on Team USA, that's when we're roommates. So when we like leave the country and like go to England, he was like my roommate. out there. And I basically chose my roommate by who likes their room the coldest that night.
So you like to sleep cold?
Made him a great roommate. That's my only ask.
Yeah. Yep. So you've been over to 30 different countries as team captain with United States boxing, right?
Yeah, and it was cool. It was cool to be all those places, and I never really got to. Well, I found ways to enjoy these cities, but when you go there, you're just really there to train. And when you're there, we don't get to see the touristy stuff. We wherever the team is, and the team's always in a low cost place, to say the least. That's where we are. So like I got to live amongst these people, and I realized like how soft we are as Americans. Or here in the States.
You got to really experience the real culture, not the tourist culture side of things.
Yeah. No thanks. Yeah. I am soft. Like I need air conditioning. I need air conditioning. And
I need ice.
Oh, bro. Yes, ice. So that experience was definitely eye-opening for me because it does check me every so often when I'm complaining about something. I'm like, I live such a cush life that normal problems, normal things have become problems, and life's so good. I have these complaints.
Right. See, I've heard that before from other people in somewhat your realm that do coaching and speaking. It's like America's problems, we don't have any problems as far as like what we think we do. My Starbucks, they spelt my name wrong.
Yeah.
Doing these tours.
Side note, we piss in potable water.
Who was the first to drink it?
No. I mean, no. Like us here in America.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, yes. Okay.
The water we pee in. Yeah. Who was the first? I was like, huh?
I thought
the first guy that went to sleep had to drink it.
Thought this is some weird team confession.
Yeah.
No, I'm just pointing out the fact that, like, in America, life is like we pee in drinkable water.
Correct.
That's how much water
I follow
we
you
have.
now.
Like that's how crazy is that?
It's
like,
insane.
Some people have to like fetch water. Like that's nuts. And then I complain if I get water without ice.
Yeah.
Well, just think of the people that from other countries come over here and they realize that. They're wasting drinking water by pissing in it.
Mm-hmm.
That was my family.
We waste so much stuff. I mean, not just consumable stuff that is important for our livelihood. Dave and I, on these huge construction sites that we deal with, you should see all the metal that just gets thrown away, all the wood that just gets thrown away. I mean, it's just
copper. Oh yeah,
copper. I mean, it's ridiculous what we waste over here in the States.
Yeah, I mean, you see people scrapping them, who will scrap that stuff and put money together because life is expensive with convenience.
Mm-hmm.
True. I like that.
Like the idea of there's free money out there in scrap metal, but you have to go through the inconvenience of going to do it. And for the job site, they're like, for what we would scrap it with man hour, not worth it, toss it.
Yeah.
It's like
Corey said about the wood. I mean, brand new pallets. They just toss them. They don't reuse them. They don't. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I used to live in my van, right? And during
down by the river.
Actually, that's what someone made that joke, and I didn't know that people could live in vans, and I bought the van. That's the story of it.
You didn't know the Chris Farley Saturday Night Live skit? No, man.
Never heard. Someone mentioned it jokingly because they're like, "Oh, you're a motivational speaker," and like I googled it, and I put together. I'm like, if I can live in a van, I would save money on flights, rental cars, and hotels.
Yeah.
And I bought a van and I lived in it for 3 years.
Wow.
Damn, what years were those?
2017 up until the pandemic.
Wow.
The pandemic is what stopped that. But I share that story to say, like, during the pandemic, I gutted the van out and talk about convenience. So if you if you bought a dinner table, what do you do with your old dinner table?
Sell it.
Well, you usually put it on Facebook for free just to get rid of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would literally show up to your house, pick up that free dinner table, and screenshot those pictures, and then post it on Facebook Market for $250 with free delivery.
Wow.
Yeah. So you'd pick up so you'd flip free material.
Yeah, that was my side. I always kept a table in the van. There's always one I was waiting to sell at some point.
Somebody needs a table all the time.
But those are the things, like getting the scrap metal. It's like, to me, you just make a game out of it. To me, that's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like Tetris a little bit, just picking up little pieces and see where they fit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Cam, back to where did you grow up? East Coast?
Yeah, Long Island, New York.
Long Island, New York.
Yeah.
Okay. And you had based on your story, you had a bit of a rough time growing up, being bullied. You got into boxing. At what age did you start fighting or boxing?
16. But I want to go back on the bullying part.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So my bully lived like at the end of the block. First of all, when people share stories about their childhood, they were all this badass. Like, they won every fight and they fought everyone on the street. That wasn't me. I'm a very non-confrontational person, and I don't like fighting. Like, as a kid, I'm not that tough kid. I would see those people and envy them, but I was like, oh, like those dudes who are ready to fight anyone.
Yeah.
No, thank you. So I don't have that story. So I used to get beat up by a kid at the end of the block, and they would let me out of school 15 minutes early so I can get home before he got to me. That's how bad it was to a point.
So and teachers and principal and everybody knew this.
Yeah, and now as an adult, I'm like, someone should have handled this differently. Like, my family should have showed up to their house. But that's neither here nor there. But what I realized is, because of that experience, and that was only like 2 or 3 years in elementary school, but that put anxiety on me. And I didn't know what anxiety was. I just thought people always felt like this. And even though I wasn't getting bullied, I had this anxiety that I was going to. And I always felt like I was about to get beat up, or I volunteered in the lunchroom, and I volunteered in the nurse's office during lunch because I was afraid to go in the lunchroom. So the reason why I got into boxing was, I was like, this is a good way to know how to fight, because I'm going to eventually need to know how to fight, because I was always anxious and on edge.
And you always had that chip on your shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then so I started boxing, and as soon as I started boxing, I gained this confidence, because my goal when I got to the gym at first was just to lose weight and look like a fighter. Because if I look like a fighter, that's half the battle. That's more than half the battle. Yeah. So I just wanted to just work out. So they didn't bother coaching me. They just let me do the fitness part by myself. So I kind of taught myself how to box, and I ended up losing so much weight because I was there all the time. I was obsessed. They were like, hey, you're in better shape than anyone else. Do you want to get in the ring and spar? And I was like, oh, no, my mom won't let me. And then everyone laughed, and I was like, I'm joking. I'll get my mouthpiece.
I'm just kidding.
When I tell you, I was so terrified to get in because I'm not confrontational at all. And I was so afraid to get in the ring. To me, this was the first. I never made a team before. I've never played a sport. This is the first competition in my life. And I was so afraid to get in there that all I did was work on not getting hit. And I realized I burned so many calories, and I didn't get hit at all. And I was like, so I just started sparring everyone in the gym. That was the best workout for me. And I was so big, and I didn't hit hard. I didn't really know what I was doing. So everyone let me spar them, whether you're 100 pounds or 250 pounds. And I developed this radar, and a light bulb went off in my head. I was like, I'm sparring everyone. I could be a boxer. So I figured out the point system, which
How the
most people,
judges score.
yeah, I sat down and I interviewed judges.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
smart, dude.
What do
Yeah.
you look for? What punches are most effective? And that's the only thing I worked on. I didn't hit the heavy bag. I didn't hit the speed. I didn't do anything besides spar and rollerblade.
In
That was
the ring? No.
Well, rollerblading was my cardio for a very long time. But most guys in boxing, they're heavyweight, so they think, "Oh, I'm going to knock someone out." So
Yeah.
what I did is I gained a little bit of weight so I can fight the heavier guys. And because in my mind, they're trying to knock me out. I know the point system. If I just run from them from the first round, if I hit you, I get a point. If you hit me, you get a point. I'm going to hit you once and then literally run from you until you're tired.
And so you're one up on them.
Yep. And then once you're desperate, you start throwing wilder punches.
Right.
Hit you with another jab. I'm up 2-0. And I manipulated the system, and I became the number one boxer in the country within 2 years.
That's incredible.
Awesome. So how big were you at 16? Because what are you? You're 6. When you were fighting, you were what, 220 or something?
So when I first started fighting, I never weighed myself before I got into the boxing gym because that was always my biggest insecurity. And now in hindsight, I wish I would have stepped on a scale. But I got down to as low as 178 when I was like 16 years old. And and then
how tall were you at that?
6'2" is how tall I am now.
6'2", 170. That's pretty lean, man.
I got obsessed with boxing, but then as I hit a growth spurt, and I realized I was about 200 pounds, and if I was 201, I got to fight the big boys. And my thought process is, if they can't hit me, they can't. If they hit me, they kill me.
Yeah.
But if they can't hit me, they can't win.
Yeah.
True.
Wow.
So you stayed quicker than them.
Yeah.
Put them rollerblades on and skated around
Put the wheels on.
Yeah.
So heavyweight, we actually had a guest who's an MMA fighter fixing to go pro. He's out of Oregon. And if I remember right, Dave, didn't he say heavyweight was like 265 to 210?
Yeah, something
it's
like
like
that.
a huge,
huge
spread. In boxing, it's 201 up. You can be 300 pounds. Like,
really?
I was fighting guys like 270, 280. There's no need for me to ever try to knock someone that big out. I don't got that kind of power.
No.
And also, side note, if we're being completely transparent, and I would like to be, I figured out the point system. And first of all, the heavyweight champion of the world is probably in the NFL right now. Like, all of our key athletes, they don't go to boxing. Like, all of our superstars if LeBron James started boxing at the age of 8, do you think I'm beating him? With my
LeBron?
Like,
you know LeBron? He started. I didn't know he boxed.
No. I'm saying if someone that athletic started boxing at that age, like, there's no real athletic people boxing, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I got you.
I won't, at least at heavyweight. Because
look at Butterbean.
In the U.S.
Holy crap! I mean, this guy looks like he could fix your.
Actually, I don't want to say that
cooling.
I don't want to.
He's knocking everybody out.
Yeah. I don't want to throw shade on the heavyweight boxers, but I'm saying the competition pool isn't that thick here. So I was able to dominate relatively easily in the U.S.
I got you.
But I wasn't that great internationally.
Yeah.
Those guys were really good.
Those were the tough ones. Those were the ones that sleep out in the streets. And like you said, we're soft compared to those.
Well, those guys have funding, and those guys... So in the U.S., our national team, I made $1,000 a month, bro.
Wow!
And you can't work because no job's going to let you take 6 weeks off to go train. So a lot of our guys turn pro.
Yeah, I've seen that on the documentary. Yeah.
So internationally, those guys, they go to 3 or 4 Olympics. They're boxing in their 30s, and they're not worried about bills or anything like that. Everything's taken care of. So they do have an advantage out there.
Wow.
I think U.S. is way more talented. We just don't have the experience.
So with that, what is your experience within the U.S. Olympic organization? Like when you go fight for or if you participate in the Olympics, don't you got to stay in a certain hotel? You have curfews and stuff like that, right?
Yeah. We had to stay. Well, I stayed at the Olympic Training Center off and on for about 10 years. That's in Colorado Springs, and yeah, you have curfews. They want you in bed by a certain time. They want you up at a certain time, and I wasn't. One of the reasons I became captain is because I wanted to speak up on behalf of athlete privileges. Like
Mm.
as an athlete, the reason why I was boxing is I didn't want to turn pro. That's why I never turned pro. I wanted to be I wanted to do stand up. That was my goal.
Really?
Boxing was boxing was something I was just doing. It would
Wow.
help bridge me to where I was going. So
Yeah.
at night after practice, I would want to leave campus and go do open mics.
That's awesome.
Wow.
They wouldn't let me.
So because you couldn't leave the compound, huh?
Couldn't leave the compound, but so I became captain, and you have a little more leeway.
Right on. So did you sit down and at night and write your own jokes? Do you still aspire to be a comedian, or now that you're on stage doing your motivational speaking, you get to kind of just merge it together?
Yeah, that's actually what led into that. But I'm actually I'm gonna hit an open mic tonight.
Yeah, in KC.
Yeah.
Oh, right on.
Nice.
I do mics as I travel. I did one in Zanesville. Was it Zanesville?
Ohio?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
I know Zanesville. I got some
Yeah.
friends that live in Zanesville.
I just spoke at their high school and middle school last week. So like as I travel around, I hit open mics. Now, by no means am I some great comedian, but I enjoy doing it, and I get to do it in my job, which is speaking.
Well, shit, if I'd known that, I'd have came to see you. Yeah, because that's kind of close to me right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're probably an hour from Zanesville, wouldn't you say? Aren't you still in New Albany? So almost Joe Rogan-ish. You can kick people's butt and you can get on stage and make them laugh.
Yeah.
I would say I probably am more athletically accomplished, but he's way more funnier than I am. I like him.
Now,
So
you're talking about your strategy was to stay away from their punches and hit them. Who was it? Was it Muhammad Ali that said everybody has a plan until they get hit?
That was Tyson.
So, was it Tyson? So
yeah.
The first time you got hit pretty well, I mean, was that I got to change this up, or I need or because you said you weren't a violent kid, so I know by personal experience, once you get hit in the nose, things change.
Yeah, I'm luckily I've went my career without really getting hurt in the ring, but I remember I got hit I was in Kazakhstan, and I got hit so hard that I remember thinking, community college isn't that hard.
yeah.
Maybe I can go back and give this a run.
I'll give that math one more shot.
Yeah. Technology's improved. They got calculators that'll help you pass nowadays.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I started boxing in 2006. I won nationals in 2008. And funny thing is, like, when you win nationals, and I think it's still up on their website, they ask, what do you want out of boxing? You have to fill out this form right before the finals, like your height, your weight, hometown, left, right, southpaw, whatever. Last question is, what do you want out of boxing? Most people put heavyweight championship, Olympic medal, money. I put to be a good role model and have my own TV show. That was my plan. I didn't know how else you could get on TV, so I thought, hey, if I just become really good at boxing, like, you can, famous people, like, if you're good at one thing, you're just athlete privilege. Yeah, that's what it is. Like, if you're really good at a sport, you're just allowed to do things you don't really deserve to do otherwise. So I was like, okay, I'll just do this. My goal was to win nationals every year, win the Olympics in 2000, and even if I don't get a medal at the Olympics, I would find a career in some type of performing. That was like the goal. And I won nationals every year, a bunch of nationals every year until 2012. I won the Olympic trials in 2012. Then I got kicked off the Olympic team for not sending in my paperwork that I was leaving the country.
Yeah. I've seen that. And then you went back and started retraining, and then won the chance to get on the Olympic team again.
Yeah, so that's I had to stay away. I had a year off from boxing. And that's when I changed my name and decided to return to boxing and treat it, because my goal was to be a performer. So when I came back to boxing, I'm like, I'm going complete full-on performance.
Yeah, I'm 100% committed.
I flipped in the ring. I wore capes. I did the funny interviews. To me, it was just it was a good time.
Yeah.
And then I won the 2016 Olympic trials, but then I lost an international competition and then didn't get to go to Rio.
Gotcha.
Oh, wow.
Gotcha. Yeah. Now, let's back up a little bit. How much resistance or backlash did you get from friends and family once you call them up and say, hey, I'm no more, was it Lenroy? What's your birth name?
Lenroy.
I'm no more Lenroy. You call me Cam F. Awesome now.
My mom, and I quote, I didn't give birth to no awesome.
But see, that makes her awesome.
She don't think that. She does not. She doesn't think that's funny at
Mama
all.
Awesome. She didn't think that.
She didn't think that's funny at all.
That is one of the most, that is the most epic name changes I think I've seen of the century. You're going to go down in the record books for that too. This dude was Cam F. Awesome, man.
First on, before I need to do something with the name.
Yeah, I mean, you're doing it. You're helping all these kids out. You're traveling on stage. You motivational speaker. So what's your connection in, if you don't mind responding, but what's your connection to breast cancer awareness? Because I know you wear pink a lot for that.
Yeah. So back in 2008, when I first moved to Kansas City, there's a lady who ran the recreational center where the boxing gym was. And she was kind of like the gym mom. And she knew I moved to Kansas City, and I moved to Kansas City on 3 days' notice. I didn't know anyone here. I just moved here for boxing because I believe you say yes to everything. Mm-hmm. You reached out. You want to do a podcast? What? Yes. I say yes. It's got me this far in life. I just say yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So I moved to Kansas City. I didn't know anyone. And she would always check up on me, make sure I was okay, bring me a Christmas gift, invite me over to her family for Thanksgiving. And so I became closer, and then she was diagnosed with breast cancer. So I would always wear pink in her honor.
Wow. That's sweet, man. That's really awesome to keep honoring her like that.
Still alive.
So
cool.
Yeah. So what do you find more fulfillment of I'm sure I know the answer to this question, but do you find a lot of fulfillment of what you're doing now? Or if you ever had a chance, and the reason I ask this is I just got done watching the George Foreman show on Netflix, and he was out of it for like 10 years or something and got back. If you ever had a chance to box again, would you?
Nah.
No. You're good, huh?
Yeah. I legit did it to be able to be where I am today.
Cool.
Because I saw it as like I wasn't going to college. I'm not that type of person. Like I'm not that. I wasn't. There was no other way I was going to find success other than I thought through sports. And I figured this path through boxing, and I would use this to become a performer. And the reason why I want to be a performer too is because I thought it was cool. You can make money making people laugh. Yeah. That's crazy to me. Like some people do like hard labor, or you can make people giggle.
Yeah. See, I love that too. I'm just missing one aspect of it. I'm not funny. So
okay. Oh, here's the thing. I might not be that funny either. I figured out. So this is how my brain works. Points. The way I figured out boxing and the scoring system, I figured out comedy. So Malcolm Gladwell broke it down and said like 10,000 hour rule. After 10,000 hours, you master something.
Yeah.
Right. So in my mind, and I didn't know about this rule, but in my mind, if I have 3 boxing matches and you have 100 boxing matches and we fought, who do you think would win?
Probably me. Experience, right?
Experience, yeah. So I was like, okay, I might suck for the first 100 fights, but then I'm always going to be the more experienced fighter. So I ended up with 400 fights.
So 300 and so that record is true. That is a ton of fights, man.
But I point that out. So when I got to comedy, figured out the scoring system is like how much time you get on stage is the better you become. The same experience, just like boxing. So I was like, how can I get on stages? And I'm like, well, I'm situationally famous. So if you can find very small niches, people will almost care about you. So,
okay.
As a boxer, I have a lot of friends. First of all, I have a lot of friends, and comedy clubs don't care if you're funny. They care if you can sell tickets.
Right. True. It's all about the money.
So I figured I have a bunch of friends, and there's a lot of people who would want to see me do comedy just because, like, the boxing dude doing comedy, I'll pay $10 to see what this is about. So I knew I had a bunch of those lined up, and I wasn't funny. I just sucked. And that's the thing about life. Like, if you're just bad enough at something long enough, you'll get better, because I got more minutes on stage. And then I realized I can speak at schools and do this comedy for students and get 45 minutes at a time. And then I can use that to build a career for myself for after sports and then transition into the corporate world. And that's where we are today.
I would absolutely love to have you on one of our construction sites, especially, you being a diversity coach, because construction industry right now, we're doing a lot of the equity, diversion, and inclusive and stuff like that. We do all those. We also, do you stand up or have, and that might be a bad question, but how do you see Suicide Awareness Month coming up? Because I don't know if the boxing industry is big with all the brain injuries that can happen. Did you do that and fall into that?
No. So that's something I speak about. I'll touch on separately.
Okay.
But through boxing, I'm sure boxing does something, but I'm not familiar. And I'm a little removed from boxing. It's been a couple years, so I don't want to not give them credit in case they are doing something.
Right.
But I'm unsure about that. One thing I do, and I'm not sure if I addressed this at the talk where your wife at the SHRM conference, but I speak about gratitude at schools. And I speak at corporate as well. I do for adults, but everything I do for students, I pretty much do for adults. It's the same message, different references, different jokes. But I talk about every morning. It's over there. I write, before I look at the phone, I write a list of 10 things I'm grateful for. Because it's the whole, your reticular activating system. Like if you wanted to go shopping for a yellow car, you went looking for a yellow car, you didn't find one, but after that, you started seeing yellow cars everywhere.
Oh yeah.
Like that's something in your brain. So your brain takes in billions of bits of information every moment. But the way it organizes it is it puts it through a filter. It's called, your filter is your RAS, your reticular activating system. So the second you say, I'm looking for your yellow car, your brain's like, okay, Corey's looking for a yellow car, yellow car, yellow car. Your kid's toy bin, yellow car, commercial, yellow car. Those cars were always there. It was just the second you told your brain you were looking for it. So the perfect example of the reason why whichever vehicle you drive happens to be one of the most popular vehicles on the road.
Yeah. I've noticed that. Yeah. You're absolutely right.
It's because it's what your brain is looking for. So when I do this gratitude journal, what I do is I look for 10 things I'm grateful for every morning to start off my day. And then it triggers my brain to look for other things to be grateful for. And I've retrained my brain. And if you can retrain your brain, you become less sad. And if you're more happy, you're less depressed. And this is just a fun way I package the suicide prevention exercise for students. I call it 300 reasons. Because after 30 days, you have 300 reasons why you should wake up on day number 31.
Wow. I like it.
Yeah.
So,
man.
So just for your advice or for your knowledge, Dave and in our industry, OSHA has put together what's called the Fatal Four, and it's falls, electrocutions, struck bys, and caught in betweens. And those Fatal Four is the biggest reasons people get injured or hurt on the job site, among everything else.
Give me those four one more
However,
time. I'm sorry.
caught in between, so it's falls, electrocutions, struck bys, and caught in betweens. Struck bys could be rigging, falling, and breaking, and you get struck by that. Caught in between can be getting pinched between like a forklift and a wall. Falls, obviously, you're working at heights, you're rigging or your fall protection breaks, or you fall off a ladder. And then electrocutions is obviously pretty self explanatory. But what we have, the number one killer in our industry is suicide. When you think about the work that we do and the stuff that our construction family and brothers and sisters go through, and for whatever reason, the money is never in our backyard. We always got to travel. So we're leaving our kids at home, leaving the wife at home. We're missing birthdays, missing soccer games, doing this. And then we typically travelers, we work 7/12s. I mean, that's why we're on the road, is for the money. So it's 7 days a week, 8 hours or 12 hours a day. So there's little less time. There's not a whole lot of social activities going on. And then going to the same hotel room every night, or going to the camper, or whatever it is, wherever your place, where you're resting your head, eventually alcohol or drugs start taking over, because you'll start drinking on the road. You'll start drinking. So suicide has become the number one killer in the construction industry. And there's Out of the Dark walks. I don't know if you've heard of that organization. We've had Dr. Sally. You might have heard of her. She's real big in the industry and promotes suicide awareness. We've had her speak. So yeah, the reason why I asked is I would love to have you come on, and since I know that you speak about it, if we could ever get something going for the month of September. I'm only 3 hours away from you. You just take a quick drive up north and come to our site and speak on behalf of suicide awareness and your 300 days and your gratitude journal.
I'd love that for sure.
Okay.
I didn't know about that. But that's that now, because as you talk about like being in those hotel rooms every night and traveling, that's how I spent my 20s.
Yeah.
And
so
I realized like, it's a lack of community, just like
right.
You see people, but it's just no one's comfortable, so you don't get to commune.
Right. And it's not home.
Yep.
No.
No, and you get poop paralysis too. Every time I traveled, I couldn't take a dump for 4 or 5 days. I mean, it's true, because you reminded me by saying comfort. You're not comfortable. I'm not taking a dump on that toilet. I don't know who was just on there. I can't do it.
Yeah, you're a home pooper.
Yeah.
Home pooper.
I had to break that a long time ago.
Yeah, I'm not a public defender. Awesome, man. Cam, I really appreciate you. We're approaching our 45 minutes to an hour. That's typically, we like to respect our guest time and our listeners. Love to speak to you more. Love to have you back on. This has been so fun.
Yeah. For sure.
Just the comedic banter back and forth, being able to speak like we've known each other forever. I can tell you really do have a electrifying personality. So I can just see what you'd be like up on stage. You got that charisma. Absolutely.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
You guys are cool to kick with too. Thanks for kicking with me this evening.
I appreciate it. Love it.
And then once I got out there, like Corey said, I mean, I'll talk to our general contractor out there. I'd love to have you out to any site, but the site that I'm going to in Kansas City, I'd love to have it come out and, talk to the guys, and, you understand, being away from home. Plus, most guys, maybe not all, most guys love boxing. So that would be the site that I'm going to in Kansas City. I'd love to have it come out and, talk to the guys, and, you understand, being away from home. Plus, most guys, maybe not all, most guys love boxing, so that would be a whole oh my gosh, we're
Yeah.
getting a boxer out here, and then on top of that, just what your message that you send out to kids and to adults and stuff about the positive thinking and things like that would be incredible.
Sweet. I would love
Absolutely.
that. I would love that.
Just so you know, you're in the likes of some fighters as well. I used to do jujitsu, and Dave,
Oh,
if
really?
he didn't like you, he'd throw you with some judo chop throw.
Okay.
He was a big time judo master.
Really?
Dave actually owned his
Well,
own
it's
gym.
my own school, yeah. And
Really?
that's what kind of spurred me on to the question about the first time you really got hit, because I remember first time I
Yeah.
got thrown without
Right.
me trying to help them. It was a
Yeah.
shocker. It was like
Yeah.
you grab their gi and all of a sudden you're on the ground and you're trying to figure out, how did I get here?
Yeah.
Yeah. I have I have a respect for so boxing, yes, like boxing, difficult sport, but like
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
the those just MMA, just the skills that you have to have in each art.
Yes.
Like I can't even name all of them right now. They have to practice them. Like, yeah. But if I could get back into, if I did anything, I would do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Oh,
Yeah.
there you go.
For a
Yeah.
workout.
I love it and miss it. And to Dave's point, I remember one competition I was in, I got put in a baseball choke and I was out just like that. It was the first time I've ever been put in that choke. It's the last time I will ever be put in that choke, because as soon as I got off that mat, I looked at my coach and I asked him, I said, "What the hell was that?" He goes, "Baseball choke." I said, "As soon as we get back, you're teaching me that? I'm never getting caught in that thing again."
Yeah.
Yeah.
It only
I
takes
mean,
one
it
time,
was
right?
quick. One time, buddy. And I tell you, I know how the setup is. I know how the feel on my rappel is with their hands. It'll
Yeah.
never happen again. I promise. I mean,
Yeah.
So.
David, are you still in the world of fighting?
No, I actually had a partner with my school, and he bought me out, and then for like 20 some years I was a paramedic, and so I got a job as a traveling paramedic, and so once that happened, I didn't work out anymore, or, train anymore as much as I used to. But yeah, no, I would love it. I'd love to go, and maybe in Kansas City once I get there, because that's going to be my final resting place. Uh, I'll find something to start working. I talk about a workout, like you said. I mean, it's a full body workout.
Yeah.
Definitely keep you in shape.
Mm-hmm.
Keep your mind sharp, at least, because you always got to be thinking ahead. So it's just like the old system with chess. It doesn't, or crosswords. You keep that mind thinking, you'll be good to go.
Yeah. Like sometimes I'll be like in a rut in like the week or something's going on, and I go work out, and like 30 minutes into my workout, I'm like, oh shoot, that's what it is. Like,
Yeah.
I just needed to work out. I just need to get a sweat going. You just feel so much better. Like I didn't work out for like 3 days because I was traveling. Days just didn't work out, and I just worked out. I was like, oh, I missed this. Yeah.
Yeah. I wish I could get back into it. I don't like wasting my evenings anymore at the gym. I hate it. I work, I do have a pretty good schedule as far as work goes. I work from 6 to 7 to about 4:15, but still coming home, last thing I want to do is get my clothes and drive back to a gym, be there till 6:30 at night, and come home, spend what little time I can with my daughter. I'm like, I don't, so if I can find it to do it in the mornings, I might do that. But
yeah,
so
I'm not a dad. I couldn't imagine like fitting that time in, and I used to think I was super motivated, like because I was always in the gym. I was obsessed. Truth was, I was just terrified of getting beat up.
Yeah.
Now that there's no one beating me up, it's like harder to get to the gym.
Well, even with that, that's still motivation. Something that gets you going is still motivation. So before we end, I know that you have a website,
Yeah.
right? So how can
Yeah.
people contact you if they want to reach out to you and or have you come speak at their school? If we got principals, if we got somebody else
Yeah.
like that, administrators listening to our podcast, how can they reach out to you?
So I speak to students as well as adults. I do corporate as well. You can find me at camfawesome.com, at camfawesome on all social media. You can reach out. As captain of Team USA, I travel to over 30 countries. And as captain, I have to find out the do's and don'ts of each country. Then I relay the message to my teammates so we don't look like idiots when we get there.
Yep.
And through doing that over the course of 10 years, I learned a lot about culture. So I speak on cultural communication in the workplace, as well as resilience.
Wow.
So
that would be awesome in our field because, man, we've got people from all walks of life. We've got the Hispanics. We've got people, Europeans. We've got some Germans. I mean, we've got different languages. We've got Arabic over
Sweet.
here
African.
now doing a lot of construction work. Yeah. So yeah,
Whoa.
there's tons of multicultural workers, craftsmen nowadays. So I didn't. That'd be great. So there you go, listeners. Cam F. Awesome on all social media. He speaks to corporate events. He helps with kids. He'll speak at your school as well. If you're an adult that just don't know what to do, give him a call. He'll straighten you out, and if he doesn't, he'll just beat you into straightness and make you laugh a little bit too.
I want to say, if you go to his comedy act and you don't laugh, you know you're going to get hurt.
Yeah. So
you better laugh your ass off.
As always, Dave, you want to send us off with your question?
Yeah. So boxing has a history of saving a lot of youth from gang life and bad life and stuff. So kids out there that want to get into boxing, either for just something to do, stay out of trouble. What advice would you give a young person who wants to get into the sport?
I would say first, you don't need to, like, if you look through all of my pictures, any fight pictures you see, I have thumbs up and a goofy smile on my face. And I do that for a specific reason because I want people to know that you don't need to look like a fighter to be a fighter. Because I'm not the big, tough, angry looking person. I'm not that guy, but I can still be successful in the sport. So I want, if a kid's listening to this and think, oh, I could never be a fighter. Yes, you can. It's an art. Once you master the art, toughness does not matter. And if you do want to get into the sport just to learn to defend yourself, because that was my goal, to gain confidence, usaboxing.org. usaboxing.org. You can go under membership, find a gym. You type in your zip code and you find all of the insured USA Boxing gyms in your area. And it's never too late to get to be fighting. I saw two guys in their 70s fight each other.
Wow.
So
yeah.
If you think it's an age thing, it's not an age thing.
Did they have the walkers with the tennis balls? Or were they just...
These guys
did they take a lot of breaks?
No, so they only did 1 minute rounds, but these guys were in pretty killer shape. They fought each other every year in August.
That's awesome.
For like 3 years in a row, and they would talk crap back and forth.
That is so
through
fun.
Snail mail. Snail
mail. I hope you get this.
Certified kick your butt copy.
Hey, Cam, I really appreciate you taking the time. You're a busy man. Thank you so much for giving us an hour of your time to talk to us and also our listeners. And you gave great advice. I'm telling you, it's amazing to talk to you. And like Corey said,
absolutely,
I would love to have you back on the show, and we'll just talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah, please reach out.
Yeah, we didn't even get a chance to get into the safety of boxing, how you train, what do you look for, and then the safety of, as you said, learned what the other culture of the countries were, what not to do,
Yeah.
things like that. So
yeah, we got a lot more to cover.
Yeah,
Sounds
for
sounds
sure.
like a part 2.
Yep, part 2 coming up. Well,
Yep.
Cam, thanks a lot, man. Enjoy. Hey, it's Labor Day weekend. I don't know what your plans are, but please be safe out there. Have fun, though. By the way, I rent jet skis, so if you want to ride jet skis, come on up.
Oh man, yes.
Talk about safe.
So, all right. Thanks a lot, Cam. Have a good
for
rest of
having
your
me.
weekend, man.
All right, everybody be safe.